Plane and Supergirl.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action.
This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright.
And you're listening to the Krypton Report.
And you're listening to Krypton Report.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird!
It's a plane! It's the Krypton Report!
The All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. If you've enjoyed Krypton Report, please check out the other podcasts available from Southgate Media Group. From Capes and Lunatics, which is everything you could possibly want from a geek podcast, to Nuff Said, Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks, Titans Talk. If you're like me, you can't get enough of your DC. And you can also check out Super Connectivity, where they discuss everything in comics. Also, they do discuss Marvel. That's something you don't hear much from me. So, check it out, southgatemediagroup.com.
Look in the sky. Superman is coming. It's so awesome.
Hey, James, I got a question for you.
What's up, Tyler?
With all these, craziness in comics and stuff, I was sitting there thinking, this is deep. This is deep, dear listeners. I haven't been keeping up with Young Justice, the new book that Bendis is writing. But you know what I got to think? I really think Connor, he needs to stick around. He needs his own mantle, and he needs to basically become like Superman's version of Nightwing. You know, his own hero, not Superboy, and let John Kent be Superboy. But Connor needs to elevate and become basically Superman's Nightwing. What say you?
I agree. I very much agree. We have Supergirl. She's basically her own thing. I mean, she's just a a female analog of Superman with her own problems with her own group of people. I think that since the 90s now, since the ultimate creation of Connor Kent, it's been long enough, and he's been in and out of the groups. He was with the Teen Titans because he was young, but he's been around so long now, and with the current Young Justice story, which you said you haven't kept up on, it doesn't specify that I can recall how long he's been gone, but he's been gone long enough because he was teleported to Gem World by the female head of Star Labs. Mm-hmm. She had tricked him a long time ago and had teleported him to Gem World, and he was there, and he saved a woman and her child. Her significant other had died, and she was like a single mother, and it was like a problem. And so he saved her and just kind of started taking care of them, living with them. He was like a farmer in Gem World. So he's been on his own, and he has had to do some, actual growing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So now he got back with the team, and they did their multiverse hopping, which was kind of cool. I mean, it was interesting how, because you haven't read it, they actually went to Earth 3. Okay. They went to Earth 3, where the crime syndicate is from. So how the stories and the timelines line up is beyond me, because the timeline that they were working with in the Young Justice comic was the timeline where the crime syndicate had come to Earth in Forever Evil in the New 52, which is still which is what we're still actually a continuation off of in Rebirth, even though Convergence and Rebirth has made a lot of these other timelines still canon and events canon. So the timeline that they're working with, is the New 52, where the crime syndicate's gone and the majority of them were killed. But we know from Justice League that the crime syndicate was somehow there and back alive. But they did mention something about that because Lex said something about like killing most of them. So, but kind of the fact that the way the multiverse was kind of moving and starting with the totality and Perpetua and all that. So I have no idea, but they're back. But they go to that Earth and they're fighting like the sidekicks of. They're fighting like a Young Justice version of the crime syndicate over there on that Earth,
which is awesome. And isn't
it's pretty cool.
What do you call it? Didn't during that whole weird time aging thing of John Kent, he was stuck on Earth 3 with Ultraman, wasn't he?
Yeah. So I wonder if the time loop, like if he didn't go back in time over there, well, because it seems like with Bendis stories, it seems like the timeline for anybody else's book doesn't matter. Like, John Kent goes to Earth 3 where Ultraman at this time is supposed to be dead because he came to Earth 1 and during Forever Evil, and the majority of them got killed. So in Forever Evil, back in the New 52. So there's that. During his other books, when Superman's looking around and Superman reveals his identity, John Jones is there, but John Jones is absorbed by Lex Luthor. So unless his book takes place, part of his book anyways, the reveal takes place after the Justice League books, and Lex Luthor still has the powers because he absorbed Shane, and Martian Manhunter was released. Shane released him and switched places with him. That's the only way that Martian Manhunter can be around, is if Bendis's books take place, at least part of them or whatever, take place after what we're currently dealing with Perpetua. So it's kind of, he just doesn't care about the timeline or who is where in his books. So, and it kind of seems that way with all of them. With Young Justice, the crime syndicate's gone, like from the New 52. But then you go into Superman and John comes back. He spent 7 years on Earth 3 and Ultraman was there. So who knows when and where, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy. You got to have a degree in physics to read comics. Sometimes it feels like.
Right.
But I just think that,
time portals and wormholes and multiple Earths, like.
My 5-year-old can sit there and talk multiverse theory with you now. You're just like, yeah, all right, good job.
Excellent.
Yeah, exactly.
But back to, Connor being like Nightwing. Yeah, I think he should. I think he should get his own adventures, I just think he's not the exact same as Superman and Supergirl. He can be a little different and deal with some of the similar types of stuff, but he can also deal with different things because he's part human as well.
Yeah. And I think they just gave Tim Drake his title of Drake and all that fun stuff that they did, and trying to finally, him not being Red Robin, which I think is the worst superhero name possible. Because as soon as I hear Red Robin, I think of the burger joint. And then I think, is there a Green Robin? Is there a Black Robin? Yellow Robin? Like, where do the colors end,
Yeah. Yeah, he, Yeah, it was during the Earth 3 romp where he ran into a guy called Drake, and I don't know how or why, but
I know
must be some Earth 3 where they were saying that the Drake was one of the most deadliest birds in the world,
it had
but
something to do
not
with,
on Earth.
it had something to do with like the Jason Todd of that Earth had the costume and came back and something and then left the costume. Then Tim took it up. I don't know. It was something like that. But it's an interesting just kind of thought here.
I don't know how I feel about it, because it's Tim Drake becoming Drake. Okay, you're just using your last name.
Right.
Like, if it's somebody else and they're naming him Drake after some other bird or something, makes sense. Makes sense how he's taking the name, because it was named some other bird and he's not a robin per se now. But still, it's kind of like your name is Tim Drake and now you're just calling yourself Drake.
So now
Like,
it's just dropping the
it's
Drake.
kind of a short, yeah, it's kind of a short to finding out who you are.
I mean, it's kind of like Ray and the Ray.
Yeah, right.
You know, like, so it's just like, oh, okay. And I mean, he's Tim Drake Wayne, so now he's just, what, Tim Wayne? So, I mean, I get it. Tim has suffered so much because he came out with the most BA costume, and then they retconned it and stole it and made it Dick Grayson's costume. Then the New 52 made it that he was never Robin. He's always been Red Robin because of the shrinkage of time for all the Robins. So it's just like he just keeps getting the short end, and now they're like, we're just gonna call you Drake.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay. But okay, we diverge. James, have you been wandering through your local toy aisles any? And see.
Yes, I have. Unfortunately, the thing is, I don't have money for every Superman toy that I have seen that I wanted to grab. So the only one I'm trying to catch on the shelves right now is the that awesome looking Superman Unchained armor Superman.
Oh yeah.
But I've seen the animated series Superman, and I've seen the Action Comics 1000, and I'm like, man, why can't I have a little bit of extra money?
Exactly. So I'm just hoping. Okay, so for those who don't keep up and know, I don't know if it was last year or the year. I think it was the year before that. I can't keep up with time. Hasbro.
It's late last year.
The license wasn't renewed for the toys, and that's part of why, like, the multiverse figures started like to see less of them. Like Solomon, I got him. He got Red Hood for Christmas that builds Killer Croc, and now I have to hunt down all the other figures so we can build Killer Croc because they're not going to be carried anymore. Because DC's really been lacking in the toys, and then they launched that Batman Missions toy line, which was really a cool toy line, but you couldn't find.
Aren't they like 4.5 inches?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about the 12 ones?
Both. They had the 4.5, and then they had the 12-inch. And we bought a couple of the 12 inches because I got Sayla the Batgirl and Solomon the Robin, and then you just couldn't find them. Like, you stopped being able to find them. For Christmas, I got him Scarecrow and Mr. Freeze and Nightwing, but I had to find all of them on Amazon. Like, you just couldn't find any of the, like, in stores. I never found more than just, like, Batman and Joker. But, so what happened was that toy line got canceled because Spin Masters and McFarlane Toys took over the line. So the licensing went to them. So now Spin Masters releasing, I've actually seen quite a bit of like 3.5-inch figures, and then McFarlane's doing the new multiverse figures, and they look pretty cool. They're selling well. I want to get my hands on the Action Comics 1000 and then the animated series one.
Yeah. So the animated series one. So the way they're built, we know the look of the animated series. So the way that they're built, like the legs are too thin and too long. The face looks awesome, but like if you compare the animated series one to like the DC Universe Justice League animated series one, like if you just swap the faces, the Justice League animated series one would be the one to go with.
Yeah, totally,
For sure.
Totally agree. I was hoping that with McFarlane Toys taking over, that we would get some like high quality figures here soon. From because I don't even feel like the DC Direct figures are really being made. Because I was hoping that they were going to make and release. Because I have the Supergirl, I have the Flash and the Arrow that were made from DC Direct. The ones you can only buy like in comic book stores,
Okay.
And I was hoping to get a Tyler Hoechlin Superman like made. I've been wanting to get the Martian Manhunter from the TV show, but I was hoping that like with McFarlane we'd start to get some really detailed. Because their toys, like when they do like their like they've made a lot of horror toys, they do a lot of details, and it is sick. Like
Yeah.
Like the details.
Well, I just saw a Jon Stewart Green Lantern from Justice League animated series when I was at Walmart.
Yep, that's what I want to get.
Yesterday or the other day, and I was like, "That looks awesome."
That you're right. I mean, I saw it online, and it looks awesome. And I mean, they're good figures because I feel like like we need that level of figure that's like inexpensive, and then like you have the higher end that are like collectors or whatever get. Because you need something that kids just want to play with, and that's why sometimes like it's hard because they spend all this time on these detailed figures, but I'm like, that's a $20 figure that for kids to play with,
Right.
That's why
I've been a fan of like the Icon series and the DC, or the Multiverse line, those two. Like the Icon ones, they're like a soft plastic. It's kind of weird. The Multiverse ones, they're the figures themselves are like a hard plastic. They're capes, different things like that. They're a softer plastic, but so like the Icons and the Multiverse, they got more detailed as they went along.
Yeah.
And then now they've changed creators. And the Icon line, I mean, it's kind of been the same, but they've had so many different lines and characters and stuff. Like they've got the creator line where you can get like the Greg Capullo Superman, or you got the Lee Bermejo Superman, which looks fantastic.
Which I got for Christmas. See those
Yeah, I'm jealous.
I love those figures. What's funny is I'm sitting here looking at my collection now, and like in the Icons, I have the Rebirth. I had New 52 Superman. I have an Injustice that my friend got me for Christmas. Superman. So I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff here, and the one thing too is that I find fascinating is like the multiverse figures didn't start till around 2015 when building up to BBS, because before that I don't remember seeing a lot of the bigger multiverse figures, because I remember when Man of Steel came out, they were under Movie Masters. Like the Man of Steel figures were called Movie Master figures. And then, like, the multiverse figures came out, like, because I remember being at Toys R Us and found, Superman and Batman for BVS, and then they started, putting everything under that multiverse banner. But it's just nice to see new toys back, and then maybe we'll start to see just more merch again. Like, I feel like, I'm at Walmart because, sometimes I can make it over to Target. It's a farther drive and everything. It's like 20 minutes away. But I just feel like there hasn't been just the merchandising stuff for kids.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm just hoping that, with the new licensing and stuff, maybe we'll see that change. Because, that's what I want to get my kids. I have a little girl obsessed with a character that's not really, excuse me, great for little girls, and there's no cartoon or anything right now for kids. Like, that's the thing. They don't have Justice League action. They don't have any kind of cartoon to draw the kids into DC right now. And you think that they would. It just seems like everything that DC has now is actually for like the older kid and adults. Like,
right.
I mean, how many of us, our generation is like affected because of Batman the animated series and Superman and then Justice the Timverse.
Yeah, that was our introduction. I mean,
so much.
I mean, like our largest influence, like maybe not our introduction. I know I watched the Fleischer cartoons and the Chris Reeves movies before those ever came out, but those are our largest influence.
Because that was like yours. It was new. It was for you, and the Justice League action toys, I feel like they came and they went and were gone. And, I wanted to buy, I think, out of the Justice League action, I got, let's see, I never bought any of the small figures, but I got the Superman, the 12-inch Superman, because, of course, you and I interviewed Superman from Justice League Action, Mr. Jason J. Lewis. So I got his 12-inch figure. Phil and Luca got Solomon for his birthday, the Batman one. And then after that, we bought Lex Luthor because he was on clearance at Walmart. And we bought Plastic Man and Flash because we didn't have a Flash. But what's crazy is, like, if you go online, like, there was more Justice League action figures. Like, there was supposed to be a Green Lantern and stuff like this, but we never found, because don't get me started, like, there's no big toy stores that carry stuff. So, and the Walmart here sells out because there's only one around here, and then it just feels like nobody's stocking like the toys. Like, they just have the bare minimum. And even when you go online, you would think the manufacturer, like, oh, I'll go to Hasbro's website. You can't buy directly from Hasbro. But we digress. So look for those new toys, ladies and germs. We're going to keep this wagon train moving. So this week, James, by the time this comes out, Birds of Prey drops Thursday for people. And I was in an interview with the director, and she stated that they brought in Chad Stahelski to do some reshoot of action scenes or additional action scenes, whatever. They use the same terms kind of loosely. For those who don't know, Chad Stahelski was a stunt choreographer for years, worked a lot with Keanu Reeves, later went on to direct his first film with his partner, whose name I can't remember right now because I'm horrible, and they directed a little film called John Wick and then John Wick 2. And I say this just because I feel like he's the one that should direct a Nightwing movie. Just the way he directs, the action that he brings, the style of it, I think would be just amazing for a Nightwing film.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
So I just want to throw that out there. He's already working in the DC realm a little bit, so I say bring him in for something. I think Nightwing is the best fit, but it just kind of depends on what they want to do at this point. Anyways, so moving on, we have some other things to kind of touch on here. Before we get into our main meat of the episode, did you watch the Stargirl trailer?
I have a couple of times.
It looks good. I'm more interested now that Stargirl is now on the new Earth 2. Luke Wilson's there, so that's kind of interesting. In the trailer for the series, it doesn't seem like... It looks like she's very much on her own, but then the clip that we saw in Crisis seems like she's going to have her own little team of other heroes. So that's exciting. It does look good, and I've talked about this on this show many times, that I'm hoping out that it's more of a fun, family-friendly type show that I can watch with the kids, So, I'm still not quite sure on what the heck their whole deal is with the CW and DC universe for Stargirl. I'm still not 100% clear on if Stargirl is going to be on the CW app or if it's actually going to be on the CW channel. I don't know, but
yeah, they haven't given a day, so we don't even have a release date yet for the show.
Yeah,
except for spring this year. And there's no.
It's whenever Harley. Basically.
What?
It's supposed to be whenever Harley Quinn ends. Like usually, they pick up either that same day or the next week. So that's
which we have 4 more weeks of Harley,
which I'm behind on. I'll admit I kind of got with being so sick and everything, and Jania kind of threw our patterns off. So I got behind on, which is fine because I kind of plan on just kind of binging it.
Yeah, I mean, it's binge worthy. It's a funny show, but I mean, I've enjoyed it. There's been a couple episodes here or there that a little slower than others, but we're not talking about Harley right now. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it looks like a fairly quality show. With the effects that are going on, the cast, we got Luke Wilson. I can't remember the name of the guy who's playing the original Starman.
I can't.
But he's familiar. You know him if you've seen him. And then they've got Amy Smart playing her mother,
which is cool.
Which I mean, she's great.
I know a little bit.
I've loved most of everything she's been in, even if it's not been the greatest stuff.
I love that this show kind of, because we had a lot of questions and stuff about what was going to happen, and who, like where this was going to take place. But now that we've had Crisis and all this is post-Crisis, and we've wiped the multiverse and starting over, it makes this a lot easier to digest because we saw Stargirl in the past with the JSA on Legends. Oh, it's Joel McHale. That's who it was. I had to look it up. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then, there's cool. Dr. Midnight.
I mean, the costume looks good. The staff looks great. We had a Stargirl on Legends. I mean, there was even a Stargirl on Smallville. So there's a new Stargirl here on Earth 2, and the characters, they look great. That machine stripe looks awesome.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool to see. It's kind of cool to see some DC Universe stuff be a little more family friendly. I love the adult stuff, but we were just saying that DC has little to give children. The animated features aren't exactly child friendly, the majority of them anymore. The cartoons, I mean, they only had the one season of action. They've got Teen Titans Go, but I mean, that's
like the never ending show.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, you know me, I'm 100% behind you on that because I want something new to watch with my kids, and that's where you can get toy sales, because, I mean, I don't get it, man. Sometimes I'm sorry, like I just, I think the last thing they really came out with for kids was what, Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans.
Yeah, I think part of the problem for so long was the people at Warner Brothers. You know what I mean? I mean, they were going through, it was the people at Warner Brothers, the people in charge, and then they were going through the sale being bought by AT&T, and so they weren't trying to make any decisions that were going to be major, that weren't going to do anything, that weren't going to further what they would have get out of it, like right now. Exactly. You know what I mean? Because they had no idea what was going to happen moving forward. And that's why now it seems like with the crisis and with the people in charge at the movies, with TV being so expansive. I mean, they've got DC Universe, they've got the CW, they're going to have HBO Max,
which is our next part of our discussion.
I think that they've just got so much area to release content that they can finally start to make real decisions and start expanding and being able to reach more markets. So especially with HBO Max going to have like Cartoon Network and stuff like that, all that's owned by Warner Brothers.
So let's segue into what I've been thinking about too. Is, I have Disney Plus, you have Disney Plus, and I've been enjoying that.
Thank you.
And I've been thinking about, I would be okay, man, if they just offered DC Universe as part of the HBO Max, like, and then just had a subcategory on there, just like they do on, on Disney Plus, where you can pick Star Wars or Pixar or, classic Disney, and they just had a subcategory that said Disney, or I mean not Disney, that said DC, because I'm at a point where I want just one place for all my DC stuff. Supposedly next year, but my main thing is I just want one place with all my DC. If the CW stuff moves to DC Universe, awesome. I just, and since HBO Max is now expanding with an Aquaman, like, cartoon series that's going to be produced by James Wan, it's going to have this Green Lantern show. They're already talking about having Doom Patrol on it, as well as having it on, DC Universe.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it being part of it if they do something, good for those who already have DC Universe. Because, I think DC Universe is great because, like, the comics and everything that it has. But in the content, I just feel like if they're going to do this HBO Max and it has so much DC properties already on it, why not just go ahead and make it kind of part of it? It'll make the bundle, just the value of HBO Max, so much more.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly the value of it. I would be fine with them rolling over like DC Universe subscriptions and DC Universe kind of being a tag, like you said, like the Marvel tag underneath the Disney Plus. That would be awesome. And unfortunately, I don't want them to do it, but if they did kind of separate the comics, like they're like on Disney Plus, you go to Marvel and it's Marvel content, video content. And then there's the Marvel Unlimited app. If they kept the DC Universe app and they kept the price point at $7.99 or even moved it down to $6.99 and it was just for the comics, I would keep that too, because that has been especially since they expanded the comic library, that has been my biggest draw for DC Universe. I read more on DC Universe than I watch, except for the original content.
And
I've gone back and watched so much of the old content as well, but ever since they expanded, I'm like, oh yeah, like all these comics, I can just open up my app and start reading.
Right, and I agree, because a lot of the problems that not problems, but like with DC Universe and stuff is that I own a lot of the stuff before it was on there. You know, like I owned a huge chunk of the Bruce Timm universe. I own Lois and Clark and some of the other stuff. What I've really dug is just being able to watch Superboy, because I only had season 1 of Superboy. So, so that's been cool. And I like watching the old George Reeves series. That's fun to watch, you know. So I've really enjoyed being able to access that stuff. But a lot of the other stuff I already owned. And I'm a little bummed that DC Universe hasn't put out, excuse me, as much more new original stuff. Like even they did the Spotlight on Shazam, which was awesome. And the Spotlight on Aquaman, that little documentary when Aquaman film came out. It's like, I wish they would do some more things like that for their characters and events going on. So I proposed, you know, I got in a whole argument with this guy online the other day because he's an idiot. Sorry, man who doesn't even know. But I just proposed, like, we were talking about Superman Lives. And I said, man, you know what? I would love that if DC Universe would make original animated films based on these unproduced scripts and sequels and movies that we've talked about. And this dude goes off, well, they already make these movies. The DC makes these movies on DVD. I'm like, dude, I know. I own all of them. I'm talking about just on the streaming service, to give the streaming service more original content to make it more valuable. And he was just trying to argue. And I was like, man, this guy is dumb. He obviously he missed like every point I was trying to make. But anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm just, you know, I just want one place to go to watch my DC. I don't want to have to splinter, like, you know, because technically, you know, Gotham's not, it's going to probably still be on Netflix, so it's going to be this kind of outlier series. And Pennyworth, you know, they're still properties of, and even Watchmen are properties of the DC banner, and Lucifer even, that are going to be on Netflix, I guess. And, you know, and Smallville's over hanging out on Hulu. So I would just like eventually to be able to just turn on something and watch all my DC and as a one-stop shop. But we hopefully will get that in the future.
Yeah. You know, there's contracts out there. I mean, even Disney properties are still running out contracts before they come to Disney Plus. So,
exactly.
You know, hopefully as time moves on, I mean, like I said, I'm not, I'm hoping that maybe it'll all be like I said, DC Universe would be under the HBO Max banner. And if they don't change it, if they don't raise the price point for the comics, I would keep DC Universe as a comics app.
Yeah.
You know, if I don't know that they would do all the comics under the HBO Max banner, but you know, like people have their Marvel Unlimited, I would keep my DC Universe for comics. And if they rolled over the majority or all of DC streaming content, video content over to a DC Universe banner under, or a DC banner under HBO Max, I mean, I'd be okay with that. HBO Max has quite a lot of content from the past. They've got tons of channels. If you've seen the cartoon, the commercial, you've seen just the list of everything that Time Warner has over the years. And so there's going to be a ton of content on there for everybody. It's just the confusion on what's going to be where. I'm just glad that DC has quite a few outlets for their content on TV and on streaming and on video and in theaters, that, you know, it's probably the biggest comic market is DC for comic content, comic book content. You know, they may not be the top cinematic universe, but they have the biggest the biggest library of extra content out there beyond just the movies.
Well, I feel like what do you call it? Good old Marvel, you know, they've canceled like every show they have. You know, TV show, like they're all dwindling and disappearing. And
yeah, everything that was being developed under Jeff Loeb in the TV division, you know, everything that was being developed is canceled, and everything that's coming out is being canceled. And
so it's just kind of weird. I mean, the only thing that's supposed to be coming is the Loki series and you know, the WandaVision, all that stuff that's Disney Plus related. So Marvel is like trying to shift all of its stuff to Disney Plus. But anyways, we digress. But anyways, that's just kind of, you know, it's there. So let's get into the episode. I got little Superboy and Supergirl here with me right now. Hello, beautiful Supergirl. How are you feeling? You want to tell everyone hi? You want to say hi? You want to say hi, Supergirl? You want to say hi, Supergirl?
Hi.
And there was the Superboy.
hello.
Reign of the Superboy. But yeah, let's jump back in. Let's get into this episode of Supergirl. I mean, Back to the Future, Part 1. This is our second post-crisis episode. And did you have a summary for it? Probably should have.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm bringing it up here.
I was like, probably should have asked you that beforehand. But you know, usually James and I record late at night. And today, boys and girls, we're recording early in the morning. Why? Because that's life.
Yes, sir. That's why we were off so long. We both sick and coughing. Everybody would just hear hacking in their ears, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still got a little bit of a cough, but so we were trying to take a break long enough so that we could be well enough to actually talk, because nobody wants to hear us coughing for 3 hours.
All right. Take us 3 hours to do it because we're coughing so much. So season 5, episode 11, Back from the Future. Told by one of his counterparts that it is the only way to stop Leviathan, Brainy assists Lex in his latest diabolical plan while working to contain the damage. They arrange for the escape of a duplicate of Windshot, who has embraced the Toyman persona, driving the original Win to return from the future to stop him. This allows Lex to steal a data cube from Win's ship, along with a source of Q waves, to allow Lena to restart her research. Lena reconciles with Andrea, who tells her that Leviathan has not yet activated her in this timeline. Kara tries to dissuade William from investigating Lex, fearing the latter's death threats, but finally decides to work with him.
All right, great job, James. Great job. We appreciate your.
So might I say, it was really awesome to see Jeremy Jordan, I believe that is his name,
yes,
back as Windshot this episode. It was awesome to see him get to play Toyman and Win as we know him.
Yes, it was awesome because, you know, like it's a way of them being able to say, Winslow Shot Jr. is Toyman, without actually making the character that we love Toyman.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta love the multiverse. And
yeah,
it was just I don't know, it was just nice to see him back, and you know, he's in the future with the Legion. It started off interesting with Brainy just being so I don't know, he's just so cold, you know, and working with Lex, like he just ignores everybody. And so one thing I've noticed is ever since now we have the new Supergirl costume, we do not get any dramatic like scenes of her changing into costume anymore. It's like she just walks and then she shows up in costume.
We don't get the shirt rip. We don't even get the nano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's kind of a bummer, you know, just, I don't know. It's just kind of it kind of makes me sad. So, but, and it's just kind of, that whole fun is gone of just, boom, the change. So,
yeah, that's kind of disappointing. I mean, I understand that the nano suit would be a lot to show all the time, but
even if they did like one effect where like it kind of just, they do it where like you just see it enough like from the symbol to where they can just reuse that same shot every time or something.
Right.
Because like how many times do we watch The Flash and they use stock footage of him running? You know?
Right.
So.
Yeah. She could like whip off her glasses and then do the shirt rip, and you could see just like the outside of the nanos, you know what I mean? Just building her suit real quick, and you'd still get the iconic look.
So, I mean, I just kind of miss that drama. I noticed that we see, you know, Toyman is the alternate Win who's trying to kill somebody who killed his father, framed his father, you know, and it's just like, he's just crazy because it's like, it's a different Earth, it's a whole different person, but yet you're okay with killing this guy because he looks like the guy that did this to your father. So.
Right.
All right. Well, anyways, you're psychotic, but okay.
Yeah. I mean, Win as Toyman, he is pretty psychotic, and, you know, there's not much history for him. He's just, you know, this Toyman, his father. So the thing that's cool about this crisis is it's allowing these shows to have different have some different problems that stem from crisis, like these multiple versions of characters that like all merged onto one Earth. So that way, you know, they have to deal with that. Like,
yeah, I mean,
like multiple versions of Win, multiple versions of Brainy. We've got a second Beth over on Batwoman.
Yep, and we don't. Black Lightning seems to be pretty much untouched, other than just conversational points. But my thing is, we're still trying to figure out kind of what happened. Because,
they still also film in a different part of the country.
I mean, with like Supergirl and like with Leviathan, because we know that the female leader person of Leviathan has taken over from Ramakon, like she alluded to post-crisis or pre-crisis.
Mm-hmm.
But then we learned that Andrea hasn't been activated by Leviathan, so all that stuff that she had done before, she has not done. Russell Rogers was not mixed up in Leviathan. He was taken over by the hostile takeover from Lex Luthor, you know, and lost his company and everything. And that's why we now have, I keep wanting to call him Doomsday. Why am I blanking on his name? What's his name, James?
The Russell Rogers character?
No, his friend.
Ripper?
The reporter.
Oh, William.
I keep wanting to call him Dax because that was his name when he turned into Doomsday on Krypton.
No, okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
William's just too plain of a name, okay? And they're just recycling that from Arrow. So we have that whole thing's changed, you know. He's now, you know, he wants to investigate Lex because of Lex basically destroying his friend's company. So it's just, okay, trying to learn what counts, what doesn't count, what happened, what didn't happen. That's a challenge. So we know that Lex is the one who brought Wynn. I did like, since we talked about toys, I did like the fact that Lex was like showing off his action figure.
Right.
He's like, yeah, here you go. Have this Lex Luthor action figure. And I told you, Neo, it'd been hilarious if like the figure he had been like somebody's prank figure, and it had been like the jail Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor. And he's just looking at it like kind of like, this doesn't look like me. This isn't funny. You know what I'm saying?
That'd have been funny. That'd have been hilarious.
I'm like, that would have been cool, you know, since we're just talking toys and Crisis and stuff. But we do get something pretty sweet in this episode. We jump over to our main man, the Martian Manhunter, who's wearing like some sweet looking like vest now, kind of like his own uniform. And he is redone and has a secret place in his detective agency that he nicknamed what, James? What is he calling it?
What did he call it?
The Tower.
Yeah, the Tower. Yeah, I was like, wait, Watchtower. I was trying to remember, like, because it was like, it looks like the Watchtower.
Exactly. And I was just like, why not just call it Watchtower, man? Why you gotta call it the Tower? We're beyond these like wink, wink, nod, nod kind of things. Like, you know, when Arrow started, he was the Hood, and then Arrow. Like, oh, okay. Then eventually he's like the Green Arrow because they just embraced it. So I'm just like, come on, man, just the Watchtower. But no, we have, and they even hear, you know, Wynn says he heard of the Hall of Justice. I do like when they kind of show Wynn the pre-crisis, and he like starts throwing up. Like that was just such.
Yeah.
He was like, ugh, ugh. But we learned Wynn has a family. He has a daughter and a wife. And he's fighting for them, you know, because he is in the future with the Legion. And I did get my Legion ring. I'm not a huge Legion fan, but like I went to the comic book store and they had some of the Legion rings still. And I got one for me and the kids. So
yeah, I wanted one when I went and bought my Legion book, but I didn't get one.
Yeah, there's this comic shop near my work, and it's pretty awesome. It's small, but they have some cool stuff, you know. But I digress. But they also have these like they don't quite explain it, but they have like signals or something inside John's tower, because like he like shows all the symbols of all the Proto Justice League, and like he like hits one to like talks about calling on each other and stuff. So I thought that was interesting. I'm kind of curious where that's going to go.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And yeah, if you need any help, I had all the symbols there.
And I feel like, so, I'm just kind of looking at my notes.
You know what? Speaking on that real quick, the Hall of Justice, in the Hall of Justice in the end of Crisis, the one chair that was empty was John's, right? Because they showed a symbol of Arrow on the chairs. Uh-huh. Like I thought that was like adorned to the back, like as a tribute. And all of the rest of them had their chairs. I didn't think that Arrow had his own chair.
I thought Arrow did. I'll have to go back.
I'd have to rewatch it again.
Because I thought it was kind of in the same, like they made it before Oliver was like dead kind of thing. So I don't know. I'll have to go back and look, because I do think it's weird that we have a Justice League with two Kryptonians. We have Superman and Supergirl. As much as I love it, it is weird, but I love it. So, and side story, we still have not heard anything of Green Arrow and the Canaries is getting picked up. So, that whole spot for the Green Arrow on the Justice League is kind of like
Right.
So we'll have to see what that happens there, and at this point, I don't feel like it is going to get picked up, but we don't know. That's a whole nother debate and discussion. But I did want to point out, I feel like the character of William right now is kind of like the new Jimmy Olsen character. He's there, they have ideas for him, but they're not quite sure what to do with him. Him and Kara are going to now try to investigate Lex together. She's trying to protect him.
Excuse me.
And can we talk about the fact that Obsidian is basically building the Matrix?
Right.
Look, if you made a program like that, a virtual reality that's like the Matrix crossed with the Oasis, you're basically, and she's talking about, people come home from their jobs and go into their real lives. Nobody's going to want to go to their jobs. Everybody's just going to want to live in their fantasy virtual world. And eventually that just gives birth to everyone being plugged into the Matrix.
Right. Kind of seems like that's maybe the blondes from Leviathan. It kind of seems like that's her goal. Like Ramakan was extinction level event, let's destroy humanity, whereas hers isn't let's not destroy humanity, let's give them something that they want to be able to control them.
Great. I mean that's you're onto it. You're perfect analogy right there. I mean, I'm completely behind that. And I'm just sort of thinking it just that's everyone's like, yay, Obsidian. I'm like, man, you're just basically feeding into people's desire to escape life to a whole new level.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, it's kind of, as we talk about all the breaks that the CW takes, sometimes it's hard to keep up, and not on just all the shows, even a single show with all the breaks. It's wait, what was happening before?
Well,
does that matter?
Right. And even with
now,
with the post-crisis stuff, is we're trying to piece together what happened, what counts, what doesn't, and is anything valuable anymore? We don't know, because we're still learning what has happened on Prime Earth. So
because we see from Arrow, he's done some things. So he changed events. Events happened, but certain things were different. He saved Moira from being killed by Deathstroke. So she's alive. Mm-hmm. Tommy's alive.
Hey, we'll get there. We'll get there.
So, I know. I'm just saying. I know we're going to talk about it. I'm just saying we've how is that able to change for other people? Win went to the future.
A lot of that
went to the future before, so certain events have taken place.
And I feel like Supergirl events.
I don't think everything was wiped out, but maybe certain things have changed, and that allows them with Crisis to be we could do something a little better with what we had done before. This is our opportunity to make little changes.
I feel like Supergirl stuff, a lot of it's intact because Oliver had little to do with it. His world is more contained because he had more involvement and knowledge of it. So that's kind of where I feel. But we'll see how it all plays out here. I still feel like we're at a point now after this season. Maybe we should just get rid of Catco. I think for growth of the characters and stuff, it would be cool if Kara just becomes more of like private investigator with John, and we move away from like Catco and Catco magazine, because I feel like it's kind of run its course. But and I don't know, we need to differentiate her a little bit more from her cousin.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so with her group moving forward, we had talked about how it could be beneficial for the DEO or for her to have separated from the DEO and go out on her own. Well, now the DEO has changed. It's a public entity, and so they can still use it, but they can use it in a different light. And now it's being controlled by Lex. So what can he potentially move forward with, making controversial decisions that will, Supergirl and Alex, they have to, save the day when Lex has made a decision that they don't agree with, that would ultimately hurt or damage the DEO reputation or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally do. And I wonder, how long is Lex going to stay around on Supergirl? I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. How long are they going to... is he going to stay around on Supergirl? Is he going to move on from Supergirl to Superman next season? Likely that's probably when that show is going to pick up, is next fall.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, if they'll do something with the Superman Lex armor like they did in Rebirth, where Lex was wearing the armor of Superman and was trying to be a quote unquote good guy. I wonder, because right now Lex is such a beloved public figure. So I'm very interested, or if that would come up, because excuse me, I'm just curious. But can we talk about my favorite part of this episode?
What's that?
So we find out that Toy Band shows up at the alma mater of Andrea Rojas, because they helped steal his father's stuff, and he's going to kill them. And he has giant mechanical tigers that jump out, because the mascot of the school was the Tigers. Or
the Wildcats or something like that.
Eye of the Tiger starts playing.
Yeah, I love that.
That was my favorite part. And I've noticed, and I brought this up to Jania, since post-Crisis, it seems like they've brought in a lot of pop songs in each episode for a fight scene. And not just on Supergirl, but on Batwoman also. Because last week we got NSYNC playing when Brainiac was fighting Brainiac.
Yeah, we did.
So just kind of keep your eyes and ears open, and let's see if this is just kind of a thing that they're incorporating now more post-Crisis. It's intriguing, but I did like when battling with the Eye of the Tiger, and we have everybody in there fighting. Ooh. And they eventually stop Evil Toy Man. And it's all good, and
so that was actually quite interesting. They do the Wynn goes after him, and he's trying to talk him down, and he sets off the bomb and blows up the thing, blows up the auditorium and everything. And then you get Supergirl kind of going into super speed mode, which was awesome. Yes. Because you never see her do that. She's always just a blur. she goes into super speed mode and she takes people out one at a time before the explosion happens. And Wynn just uses the ring or the device, and he uses some dream powers and protects himself from the explosion. But it seems like Toyman is not done, as he's still is projecting from a case of his or something inside of like the DEO lockup, the DEO evidence lockup.
Yeah, like he uploads his conscious to a computer system, which that's, going to come back. Because this is Back to the Future Part 1.
Yes.
So something's going to happen that's going to play out. I'm intrigued by it. So I'm curious because like he's now like Evil Wynn is a cyber problem. But I feel like, okay, so as much as I love it, I feel like Supergirl's heat vision has now become a crutch. It's just like she does it of just turning around, and she just uses her heat vision on everything.
Right. See, this episode, it could have been something kind of cool because they showcased her super speed once. Like, she could have used her super speed to get one and her heat vision to get another. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, showing her using multiple abilities because, like, as it came for Crisis, like, her and Superman, all they did was fly around and zap people with their heat vision. Mm-hmm. Just stood there or flew around and juke, juke, juke. It's like... It's not like a laser. It's not like they're blasters from their eyes. Like,
yeah. I just feel like they've gotten kind of lazy. Like, okay, what are the Kryptonians going to do? Just have them shoot heat vision. Yeah. But, I mean, that pretty much sums up this episode. How do you feel about it?
I actually really enjoyed this episode. I'm kind of liking the issues that they're using, stemming from Crisis. It's giving them some different stories. Like it was cool to see more Brainiacs, to allow Brainiac to become like his original self in the last episode. This episode, it was awesome to get to see Wynn as Toyman, because like we know from say like the animated series, like it's the guy's son who is the Toyman. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of cool to get to see that, like Wynn get to be Toyman. The Eye of the Tiger moment was pretty awesome. The tower was cool. Jean was going to do some stuff like he's actually kind of a man of action. They didn't follow him and show what he was doing, but you know, he's kind of being a man of action after Crisis now. So I enjoyed the episode. I thought it was really good. I mean, I give it an 8 out of 10.
I mean, I love what Jean's doing. I really feel like we're at a point where I think Supergirl's show needs to kind of clean up some cast. I feel like we're getting, a lot of characters, and we need to get rid of some. So, but I like it. I like what we're doing. I'm very curious to see where some of it goes. So,
yeah. It'll be. Hopefully, there's some straightening out. We have brought up some issues in the past with Supergirl. Hopefully with the New Earth, they'll give us some interesting stories, and they'll clean up a few things. Get some of the characters and the cast to be more comic accurate versions of themselves, and we shall see. It's been entertaining since we've come back from Crisis. I've enjoyed it. So
I have too. Some people have complained, but I've enjoyed it. So I don't know what the hoopla is about complaining.
there were certain times, there were certain times last season where it got real dull. Certain times, the beginning of this season, it slowed down a little bit. Wasn't like dull like it was last season, but it slowed down. But picking up here after Crisis, it's doing well, I feel.
All right, so we kind of talked this week's Supergirl, and I kind of give it a B. What do you give it?
I give it a B for a letter grade it.
And now we're going to talk about something
right
else.
there with you.
We're gonna sidestep just slightly, not really a whole lot, but this week was the series finale of Arrow, and we're going to kind of just talk about it a little bit because Arrow's been a big part of it kickstarted this whole universe on TV, and it reinvigorated DC on television. Just some history. Smallville ended in 2011. Arrow premiered fall of 2012. And that was the only thing on TV DC related. And, it came out, it was good. It was, it had some mixed reviews because it was definitely, when it started, it was very much kind of being like, all right, this is like the Nolan Green Arrow on TV. Dark, gritty, realistic, and now here we are. It ends with him as the Spectre after Crisis on Infinite Earths. So, the show's gone through some stuff where, in one way, it kind of had a soft ending in season 5. Kind of like how Supernatural's kind of ended multiple times and then kept going.
Right.
So, I just wanted to touch on it. Like, did you watch Arrow from the beginning? Were you a fan of Green Arrow before the show, or?
My biggest introduction to the Green Arrow was Smallville's Green Arrow, Justin Hartley. I really liked him. When I knew there was a show coming out, I was there from the beginning. And I thought Arrow for the majority of its seasons was my favorite show.
Yes.
So, the first 2 seasons were great. The first season was good, and the second season got better. So, there were moments in the third season that were really good and moments that were kind of like, and it was like, well, now you're just taken from Batman and given to Arrow.
The biggest thing that I always felt bad was, I feel like between Justin Hartley and Stephen Amell, there is the perfect Green Arrow. Like somewhere there is a perfect Green Arrow. Stephen Amell's was too dark, brooding for Green Arrow, but I still enjoyed him. He changed over time, but he still was kind of similar. Justin Hartley was just like Green Arrow Begins, kind of getting started. But the biggest thing was both of them were kind of used as, we can't do Batman, so we'll do Green Arrow. We'll make him Green Arrow, but we'll kind of make him a little bit more Batman-esque, especially in season 3. They did the whole Ra's al Ghul and Nyssa and Talia, and they really, turned that up. And it was in the 3rd season of Arrow that Felicity really turned to being the annoying character that she later became, that I couldn't stand.
Yeah, there was, like you said, in between the two. And the problem that started happening after the 3rd season of Arrow and the 4th season of Arrow was Oliver consistently made the same mistakes over and over and over again. He would keep secrets from them. He wouldn't tell them things. He would, he would keep trying to do everything on his own, even though his team kept expanding and growing. and he would drive people away, and then he'd apologize, and then he'd do it again.
Yes.
They kept doing the same thing over and over again. It was like, what are you doing?
I mean, I'm surprised Wild Dog lasted as long as he did on the series. Like, he came in season 4, right?
Was it 4 or was it no? He didn't come in till. Was it season 4? Did he come in after Damien Dark?
I'm trying to remember. Maybe he came in season 5. Season 5 was Prometheus.
Season 4 was when I lost a lot of interest in it.
Yep.
Not season 3, season 4.
Yep.
Arrow dealing with this magical stuff.
They bring in Vixen for one episode.
Punching magic stuff.
They bring in Vixen for one episode, who she should have been on the show more. Vixen should have been in Crisis. I hate that she wasn't. They bring her in. They very force Constantine in, as if he was on the island. I thought the whole island story in the 4th season was stupid. Oliver should not be going against magic. That should have been like a 1 or 2 episode thing, not a season arc. This should have been more Justice League Dark characters in season 4.
Yeah, if they were going to bring in magic, they should have introduced some more supernatural characters into the season.
Like Zatanna?
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you.
Like Zatanna, they brought in Constantine for one episode. I mean, whatever, he was on the island once. I mean, they kind of gave him something. They brought him over from his show because his show got canceled. They brought him onto Arrow. They gave him a purpose in the episode. I mean, sure, the island may be a stretch, but Constantine gets around for supernatural items. And then, kind of to help bring Sarah back from the dead. I mean, she's become a great character. So, I mean, you can't be like, oh, well, it's different the way they did it for her. And then they've used her as opposed to when they killed Oliver twice in Crisis, killed him, brought him back, and then killed him again.
Yeah, they could have just had him on the gurney dying or something, like in a coma, and then he became the Spectre, he died and none of the heroes knew. He became the Spectre.
Yeah, they felt like he was brain dead or something.
And then the actual death was there when he was the Spectre with him. But whatever. It just could have been a little bit more, because it was like you're trying to get me to cry for the same death in episode 2 and then in episode 4. But we're kind of just summing up Arrow just because it did do a lot. Every spinoff except Supergirl was kind of spun from an episode of Arrow. The Legends kind of spun out of the second crossover, Legends of Yesterday, Legends of Today, 2-part on Flash and Arrow, where they fought Vandal Savage. Of course, Flash, he appeared on Arrow first before getting his series. Black Lightning was the original property that originally didn't connect either. And then, of course, Green Arrow and the Canaries, it had its own kind of episode on Arrow. And then the Batwoman episode of Elseworlds was technically the Arrow episode. So she technically, gets spun out of an episode of Arrow.
Yeah. The only interesting, the biggest thing, now just this is a tangent, I just thought about it, was when Black Lightning came back and he's talking about Crisis. He's kind of trying to get in touch with Gambi, and he's talking about it, and he's like, Superman's real, this and that, when it seemed like on their Earth that they were like comic book characters.
Yeah.
So, but when it comes back to Earth Prime, so maybe things are the same in Freeland, but the history of the world now is they did it correctly on Supergirl, and say on this episode of Arrow, where they're talking about history as though that is the only history. But on Black Lightning, they're almost seeming like Black Lightning's history still is there, and now Superman's real. Well, no, your history would be that Superman is real. Like, everybody would know that Superman's real. They wouldn't know that Superman and Supergirl were a comic book character.
Well, I mean,
they would have just known that Superman and Supergirl is real on Earth. They would have had those memories.
It's coming from Jeff, who's still adjusting, because like he's the one like Superman's real. Like, he doesn't know that it's one Earth yet. You know?
Yeah. Or he doesn't know that their memories are be like, yeah, we know Superman's real. Like, oh yeah, I came from an Earth that it wasn't real.
I kind of wish with
although he was a paragon, or he wasn't a paragon. So
he should have been. But
when the Earth was reborn and he was in it, he should have the memories of Superman and Supergirl being real. And then he should have the memories that they weren't real given back to him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think
kind of seems like they missed something.
He does have the memories from both. I thought all the Paragons still have their memories from pre-Crisis. Or
he wasn't a Paragon.
True.
He got wiped out before they went to the vanishing point.
I'm just going to say that Jean gave it to him.
Oh yeah, he had to have given him back his pre-Crisis memories, but
that's my headcanon. Everybody else got it, but no, like so.
But he should understand that he knows that everybody should know that it's. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So 2 points. One, I feel like Black Lightning's Crisis stuff should have been like the end of his season should have ended, or like his Crisis stuff should have been at like the last episode, and then like his crossover stuff was like not that happened, and then Crisis for them picked up next season, because it just feels so awkward. Like he goes back to Freeland and what they're dealing with. He could just pick up the phone and be like, "Yo, Barry, help me clean this up real quick."
Right. Yeah, because the interesting thing would be that for them, like, they were on a different Earth where none of this. So when the Paragons like recreated the Earth, like it would seem like their memories would comprise events that have happened in the past. You know what I mean? They would compile timelines. But Black Lightning wasn't involved. So coming back to the occupation of Freeland and everything like that, it's just it kind of seems redundant, but it's okay. There are certain things I feel that they probably misstepped when writing into it. Like, because I feel their world exists now with all of this history of all of those characters. And most of the people should know that via news reports and things like that. So
I feel like Black Lightning,
they wouldn't know anything.
It wasn't planned. And then they were able, like later in the process, they were able to get Black Lightning. So they were just kind of doing with it. Because I remember his tweet when he sent it out, Cress Williams, when he was like, "You guys asked for it? All right, here it is." And it was him saying, he's going to be part of Crisis. So.
Right.
But here, okay, so back to
Arrow.
So the final episode, we're getting to the, is basically kind of like, we learned there was a documentary being made that was going to be about the Green Arrow. That's now kind of like a memorial for Oliver. Diggle lives more in the suburbs. We see his house. We learn, like you said, Oliver. So it seems like everyone in Star City knows that there was a pre-universe, that now there's one universe. Because multiple characters reference, like, we learned that Oliver made it and brought back Quentin, Moira, Tommy. Mm-hmm. He altered the history for Emiko. So we see everyone's back basically that died except 2 characters, and we'll get there. But they all mention that there's a world out there where a universe or a life that existed where they died, and now here they are alive. So they talk about that. It was kind of a bum we didn't get to see Walter Steele, though. I'll just throw that out there. That would have been kind of cool to see him and then have a Zod comment. But we didn't get that. But, the episode is interesting because it's, we get to see Diggle wrestling with the idea that Oliver his mission is over.
and there's flashbacks, and Stephen Amell's in all the flashback scenes with like a flashback sequence that happened when Oliver and Diggle first started pre-Felicity. So it's like right when it was just him and Dig starting out. And, that plays into the main thread. And, young William gets captured by a recently released prisoner, John Byrne.
John Byrne. I thought that was funny.
Yeah. I couldn't even say it with a straight face. And, all of Team Arrow is here. So Ragman is back. That was dope. I like seeing Ragman back because I liked Ragman.
Yeah.
I kind of wish Huntress had shown up. Just that would have been kind of nice. She's like the forgotten person that was in Arrow. But, we see...
Well, maybe we'll see her in Batwoman.
It would be nice. It would be really
cool, Since she exists most of the time in Gotham.
It would be cool to bring her in. And, I don't know why you wouldn't. We've learned that you can have multiple characters in different of TV and movie, and it just helps. Even if they recast Huntress, I don't care.
Yeah, it could be a different woman. It could be a different Huntress.
So...
give her a similar background, but be a different Huntress in Gotham. Take back from Arrow what they took from Batman.
Yeah. Put it back
because of Crisis.
Exactly. But we see that it seems like this is our only episode post-Crisis of Arrow. Because our last episode was, of course, the Green Arrow and the Canaries. And it's a weird episode because what's got me is Laurel and Dinah are there. Okay? But the events of the Green Arrow and the Canaries happened because Sarah goes to the future to get Mia to bring her back for her father's funeral, which is interesting, but yet they don't do that for William because William's still missing from being kidnapped from the last episode.
Right. Well, young William is still there. Mia is only an infant.
True.
And she goes to get the grown Mia because she actually knew her father.
Right. But it's just interesting because how, I don't know, Laurel's there, but yet we don't see Laurel show up saying I'm here for this. And then Dinah has her memories. She talks about getting offered the captain's seat, but in Black, I keep wanting to see the Black Canary show. Green Arrow and the Canaries, pilot, or whatever that episode was, she has no memories and there's no memory of her. So just something doesn't fit right and really work out.
Yeah, I'd have to watch them again back to back because I'm not sure how. Laurel talks about time traveling to the future. And she uses the ominous, future newspaper to kind of get the story going. And then I don't know exactly how Dinah got to the future. And why did she get to the future after so is the version we see of Dinah and Laurel in the finale episode prior to them going to the future?
Well, and then Mia has her memories.
Well, yeah, she comes from after that episode.
Right.
So Mia comes from after the previous episode. But the Laurel and Dinah, are they from the early timeline before they go to the future? So they don't have the memories of what happened yet.
Exactly. It's just weird.
You know what I mean?
I expected at the end when everybody kind of goes their separate ways and you have Dinah on her motorcycle going, I kind of expected something to happen and her to get sucked into a portal or something. That's how she got thrown to the future. But it was just weird. But the episode, is a lot of people sitting around. We see Roy, which is great. We see Thea. Everybody suits up to go save young William, but of course it's Mia that saves William. And it's just kind of like a greatest hits episode because we see basically all the major characters from Arrow talking about Oliver. Of course, Felicity shows up. And I don't know. I just find Felicity annoying.
And it's just, it was a good way of closing out the series because it actually put a capper on that character. Everybody, like Diggle's moving to Metropolis. Renee's going to run for mayor. I'm guessing that Diggle never adopts Connor Hawk now. So we'll kind of see how that plays out, I guess, because we see Diggle and his two children, John Jr. and Sarah, and Lila moving to Metropolis.
Yeah, well, because the adoption happened in the future, because we never even seen a young version of Connor Hawk from Bronze Tiger anywhere in the series. The version of Connor Hawk we've ever seen is only from the future.
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. But
it seems like from the future episode that he didn't adopt Connor Hawk.
Yeah.
Maybe that's because he spent more time off world.
Maybe. And we'll get there in just a second. So,
oh, dang, I was trying to get a segue in.
All right, fine. So this is what's interesting, okay? I was talking with one of the guys that works at the comic book shop here. He says if you go back, there are 3 references to Hal Jordan in Arrow. Okay? So you can state that Hal Jordan's out there because at the end of this, we see a box fall to Diggle, and he opens it, and it's shining green.
Yeah, like a meteor from space.
So to screw with Brian, I just said it was kryptonite because he's moving to Metropolis. Because we don't ever see a ring. It's just greening in a lead box. But the guy...
that doesn't work for me. That doesn't work with me.
The comic books guy, I was talking maybe, Hal Jordan sent him a ring because he needs him. Or, he duplicated a ring or something because there's something going on with the Lantern Corps because technically Hal Jordan is out there. So it wouldn't necessarily need to be Abin Sur or an alien to bring him the ring. So I was like, okay, right. That's cool.
So I don't know the histories of all of the Green Lanterns. So, I mean, the one I know is Abin Sur crashing to Earth and the ring finding Hal Jordan. I don't know how a ring finds, and now they use that same storyline for Kyle Rayner. Kyle Rayner. They use that same story in the animated series for Kyle Rayner in the Superman animated series, that the lantern crash, or that alien crashes and the ring finds him. Is there just? That's why. But there's only one lantern per sector, mostly.
Okay.
So until Earth. How did all of the lanterns get their rings?
So I listened to the Geek History lesson just recently. They did their Guy Gardner, and they did their Kyle Rayner. Guy Gardner is very much retcon. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful listeners, the great and most beautiful girl of the galaxy, Jania, has entered the Cave of Solitude. It is my Lois Lane here, beautiful, who's about to leave. Let's pray. Hi, Jania.
That's my mommy, James.
Hello.
James says hi.
Hi, James.
So you're fine.
I will hopefully be seeing you guys in a month.
Yeah, you look great. Jania's heading out to go see some of her friends from massage school for a little bit.
Yeah.
Love you, babe. Be safe. Take the van, okay? Yeah, you will. We're trying to make plans so we can see you when you come down. So
sweet.
But so I listened to Geek History lesson and Kyle's is pretty clean. Kyle is a ring that was created right before Hal Jordan, infected by Parallax, destroyed the Green Lantern Corps. So Ganthet shows up and gives it to Kyle. And with Kyle, he starts to help rebuild the Green Lantern Corps after the whole, I think it was Emerald Twilight, where I'm trying to remember everything. Guy
Right.
Gardner is a bunch of retcons and things that change and alter. Like Guy Gardner was supposed to be the first choice for the ring, but Hal Jordan was actually closer, so the ring went to Hal Jordan instead of Guy.
Yeah.
And then Guy eventually got a ring. And
I would say that's about my extent of knowledge on it, is what you just said.
I don't remember Jon Stewart's, but I know they eventually broke up the sector into point 1, point 2, point 3, and point 4. So each Green Lantern eventually got the sector point something. And then later, like, you know, Guy was taken off world and he became, help recruit new lanterns, help train. So and their stories are all convoluted because they go back and forth, and then in reboots and retcons they change, and then in other media, like we've seen, we're like, oh yeah, we're going to introduce Green Lantern, but we're going to make it Kyle, but we're going to give him Hal Jordan's origin. You know, so it gets even more confusing on trying to keep them all straight. I remember Simon's was because his ring was a duplicate that Sinestro had created that he had got, and then Jessica Cruz's originally started as Power Ring from the Crime Syndicate.
Yeah, and I know that one. Yeah,
and so it's just there's a lot, and it's always a lot to process. I mean, years upon years of comic book origins, retellings, but Jon Stewart's is the one I don't remember how he got his. But all that to say, Diggle can very well be Green Lantern, and you said it, and I'm going to make sure I credit you this, because I think, a lot of people were expecting Green Lantern Diggle to show up on the next episode of The Flash. I don't. You and I were talking about this. I figure he's going to show up maybe next year on the crossover. And that'll be the big hook. That'll be the big hook for next year on the crossover is like the Green Lantern Corps, the Green Lanterns showing up, and just being that one step into something new to kind of breathe. It could be Diggle. Because, we know we were talking about this earlier, the HBO series is going to be supposed to have 2 lanterns. So it would be really awesome if the HBO series is Hal Jordan, Kyle Rayner. And then we have Diggle, Jon Stewart, over here, doing his thing kind of outside of, and he just kind of pops up. Like maybe he makes an appearance in an episode on the HBO series, then pops up over here on the CW series, and that's kind of our link, But it was exciting. I wish they just would have shown the dang ring.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be awesome to see him, but we also know that the budget for a lantern, for lantern constructs is going to be expensive. They're going to want him to look, they're going to want it to look halfway decent, on a TV budget.
I think they can pull it off as long as they don't, they keep it very little. I mean, think about all the other stuff that we've had. You just put him in a suit and you basically just, make him glow green, make his eyes green, make some constructs. And you just, like I'm saying, that's why he's not a regular character. He's like an appearing guest character. You think about how they've done, with Superman, like their heat vision. You think about different effects they've done with them and what we've been able to accomplish. I think they can pull off something good. Yeah.
And like I said, like you said, I did bring it up, and that's what I hope. If Diggle does come back, Arrow's done. That's where he was. If Diggle comes back, I hope and expect that when he does, it would be like in the next crossover, and he would show up as a lantern for a part of the time. Maybe there's some kind of extraterrestrial threat or whatever, and it's part of his job to protect the sector.
I'm telling you.
So he would show up, give them a hand, and then return to space.
Next year, he shows up because Warworld's showing up and Mongol is on his way.
That would be great. Because that's not like some kind of like, that's not like a crisis level event where like that is War World shows up and it's a threat to Earth. It's an extraterrestrial threat, and it would give some pretty cool action stuff to deal with from that set piece and deal with people in a personal light because they have to fight each other and have to stop War World. Like it would be different. It would be better, I think, than trying to go bigger.
Yeah, I mean, you make it personal. You make it. You take it, and you do something that's personal, and that's what we get. We get a personal story. We get something that's more for the heroes.
And War World would definitely draw a lantern to Earth.
So it's something coming, and I think this is. I like the finale of Arrow. It's so weird if you think about it. If you only watched Arrow, it would be so weird to kind of get to these last seasons and the last parts and not have like the context of everything else that's happened. So it's just weird to think where we started and now where we are, where we ended. It's been a journey. And I'm kind of sad to see it go because like it just, even though like it started as my favorite show and then it's not. And
it returned to form, here and there. So that was good. Season 5 was good. I enjoyed season 6. Season 6 was kind of like where they did like a half season arc and then a second half season arc. It kind of, I think that they should do a little more of that half season arcs. So that way they have less filler,
Yes.
Per storyline.
I mean, they kind of did that in season 5 for like, I haven't watched season 5 again, but like it started with the one guy, the villain.
Vigilante, I think.
He was there, but it was the other guy who was just like a regular like villain, and then Prometheus showed up because Prometheus slaughters them all, and they blame it on Green Arrow. It was a good run. It got an ending, compared to a lot of these other. So Phil and I were talking a little bit about, Smallville and Gotham both ended on like a high note where it's like, this is the end of the prequel. Now the rest of the story takes off. Kind of like the story takes over. Like, Smallville ends where Smallville is over. He's let go of Smallville. He's embraced Superman. Gotham ends where he returns to Gotham, Bruce does, and he's now Batman. So there's still like this upbeat, it ends their story. Lois and Clark ends on this note of, oh, we could keep going, but we're not. Superboy, I haven't seen the ending, but it talks about, like it just kind of was done. Constantine ended after one season, so it didn't really get
half a season.
Yeah. So, it didn't get its finale. Some of these other shows, Birds of Prey was one season, so it didn't get like a closer to a show. The Flash, especially, it ends on a cool episode, but, it wasn't the 90s Flash, that is, So many of these shows kind of end without really getting the closure they deserve. But Arrow, I felt like they were able to give us the closure for the series. Like, no, this is done. Our characters are moving on. They're going forward. And we do get that scene of Felicity 20 years later walking with the Monitor to the place where Oliver is. Which is weird because did the Monitor survive Crisis? Like,
I don't know.
Yes, he must have, and so Felicity and Oliver are like in...
Perhaps when the universe was reborn, so was the Monitor.
They're in Queen Consolidated in a pocket universe now. And I'm telling you right now, that 20-year gap, Oliver is around as the Spectre doing stuff. He's still the Spectre. He just met Felicity there or something. Because that's 20 years in the future that him and Felicity are in. And it was a cool scene. It was all right. I don't know. Sayla, no.
I mean, for what it was, it was nice to see Oliver and Felicity say their happy ending.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, like, I was explaining with Jania the other day, like, we got into a little bit of an argument, because she's like, I like Felicity. I'm like, but it's not, like, she's not supposed to be his girl. And I'm like, and I pulled out Jania's favorite book and said, what if, and I said the characters' names and everything was, it's like, what if this character, Beth, ended up with this character, and they completely killed off the character of Wrath that you like? She's like, how dare you say such things? I'm like, exactly. Oliver is supposed to be with Black Canary. It's supposed to be Dinah Lance or Dinah Laurel Lance, because that's a whole nother conversation too. I'm like, just like you can't have Superman without Lois Lane. Okay? But then both my live action Olivers, one gets Chloe and one gets Felicity. Like, where's my real Oliver? And Jania was like, fine.
That's funny.
Basically. But it was good. I'm gonna miss it. It's interesting. That was the parent show. And I kind of wish that we had some sort of an Archer representation on the Justice League. Like, if Roy was just Red Arrow or Arsenal, like, I think now would be the best time for him to be Red Arrow. But whatever. I mean, things move on, go forward.
Well, it was hard to keep Colton Haynes around. Was it other work, or did they just not have anything for him, or what? Who knows? I don't know.
I think sometimes we get characters, we develop them to a certain point, and then it's like we have to do something with them because we don't know what to do. They wanted to develop Thea into Speedy. And, before we finish, there's one thing we didn't mention. So he brings everyone back, but he keeps Earth 2 Laurel and doesn't bring back their Laurel. And there's a line about, Quentin says, because there's nothing to fix with her, that, she has a reason, she has a purpose and everything, why Oliver would keep her around. So that plays well into her character and her development. The other one is he doesn't bring back Robert Queen, which I feel like if he had everything, the whole reason for him ever being the Green Arrow, all that would become undone. So
right.
That's like the staple character. Like, Robert has to stay dead. If they ever reboot Green Arrow, I would really, like, I've been saying this for years, an adaptation of Jeff Lemire's The Outsider battle, where you had the different clans with the different weapons, and Oliver ended up being the leader of the Arrow clan, and everything. I think would be a great storyline. But that was Arrow. I mean, it was good. It was closure. It was an interesting last season because it was very sporadic and it was all about building to Crisis. So
yeah.
If you weren't somebody watching the other shows and going towards Crisis, and then you just got this, you might be a little jarred. But I liked it.
It was like building towards Crisis and like saying goodbye to seasons worth of different characters.
It's one of the
different characters who popped up at different times.
And, I need to finish buying the rest of I've been a little behind. My kids are getting crazy.
So the interesting thing I heard, okay, I don't know if it's true because I haven't bought any seasons for years of these shows. If I've wanted to watch them, they've been on Netflix. I do want to buy them, but just haven't, money and crap. The interesting thing I heard was
to buy them at Christmas when they're like $10 a season on Black Friday.
Right.
That's when I usually try to get
so
them.
Then you may be able to say, I don't know how many seasons you've got.
This is
but
what I have.
I heard that on the
Arrow.
Well, I heard that on the
Supergirl 1, 2, and 4.
Blu-rays or physical media in general, that when you buy one season of something, say buy Supergirl, that you get all of the episodes of the crossover.
And I've heard that, okay? But I think Phil confirmed that with me. I have Arrow season 1, 2, and 3 because I kept them on DVD because that's where I bought the first season. And I don't like having mix and match because I'm weird like that. And then Supergirl, I have 1, 2, and 4 because I got 4 this year because I found it on Black Friday for $10, and they're on DVD. And then I have Flash season 1 on Blu-ray.
Okay.
Because I bought it on a Black Friday on Blu-ray. So like with my Flash, I will buy Blu-rays forward, and I will finish Arrow on DVD because. But I'm pretty sure you're correct because Phil said that to me before about they're all there, which is great because it would just suck. Like, you know, as far as Invasion's the only one that was ever released as a movie, and I wish they would do that for every crossover. Release it as a movie, like digitally or something, all edited together, just to make them kind of event. So if you just want to watch that, you can.
Yeah, without the ending and beginning credits of every single episode and previously on and all that stuff. Yeah, that would be cool. So, I mean, for me, all I've got at this point is Arrow season 1 on DVD. So I haven't gone very far in buying any of them, and now they're all on Blu-ray. And at the time, I didn't even have a Blu-ray player, so I wasn't buying Blu-ray. Shortly after that, I did start buying Blu-ray because it was Blu-ray DVD combo pack. I was like, so I'll have the Blu-ray when I get one, but I have the DVD and I can watch it. Yep. And when Marvel switched off from doing the combo packs to only Blu-ray digital, I was like, well, screw you. Like, I'm not buying any more of your movies because I can't even watch them. So I stopped buying Marvel movies a long time ago. Long time ago now. Back like after Thor: The Dark World, long time ago.
A long time ago when Naboo was under attack.
Yeah. So I stopped buying that. But yeah, I bought Arrow season 1 on DVD, but that's the only one. So I can buy that on Blu-ray, buy the rest of everything else on Blu-ray as time goes forward.
Yep. And eventually, like, I want to buy Black Lightning. I was going to buy more on Black Friday this year, but I didn't have the money just because of the whole jobs change and everything. But I just got the Supergirl one. So I'd like to
hopefully this year my finances will be better, and when it comes to Black Friday, I can do that. Like, because I don't go crazy on Black Friday, but if I can get some deals, especially on like movies and Blu-rays and stuff, that's what to hit up. I ain't buying TVs on Black Friday, things like that. All that stuff is made for Black Friday. It's made cheaply, and that's why it's sold cheaply.
I'm more buying just the movies and stuff on Black Friday and kind of look for completing my collection.
Maybe a couple of deals on some toys for the kids, some deals on movies or games, but that's it. I'm not buying electronics on Black Friday because they're made cheaply for Black Friday. They're cheap. They're basically cheap knockoffs of stuff that you could get if you actually bought it at full price.
Like, you know what's funny?
It'll last half as long.
My completionism and stuff, like on organization, like I bought a whole bunch of my DC Direct videos on DVD because I found a bunch of them on sale at a second hand video store where people had sold them, and they had it was 6 DVDs for $20, and I bought a huge chunk of them. So then I just kept buying them like I found them, and then eventually when I got caught up to the current releases, I switched over on Bad Blood was the last one I bought on DVD. And I have them on Blu-ray, and part of me is kind of want them all on Blu-ray, because
since I had made the decision to buy some Blu-rays and stuff before I even had a Blu-ray, as long as it came with the DVD combo pack, I started buying the Blu-ray so I could have the DVD to watch. And then just within the last year is when I started I went back and claimed all the digital codes that I had that I never claimed.
When they started doing, when I started using my digital stuff more, is when I was like, okay, I'll start buying the Blu-rays because I find I started using the digital copies on my phone and and everything. But all right, man, we've been rambling for a while. We've been talking Supergirl, Arrow, the Arrowverse, HBO Max, so much good stuff from DC. Comics are coming. out. Doomsday Clock ended. Year of the Villain is still kind of in swing. Superman just revealed himself as Clark to the world. I haven't read the new issue. I'm actually going to go read it after this. So much good stuff to check out. Talking points coming up. Is there anything else you want to add in there?
No, I think at this moment we're pretty good.
All right. Birds of Prey is coming out this week. So we'll be talking about that soon. And remember, everybody, look up in the sky.
Look up in the sky.
Look up in the sky.
Look at the sky.